you start the block is important because you want to be sure that you don't run out of paper and all of that. So the first instruction is square down from 0 and square halfway across the block. So just when you're starting, look at where 0 is and position it on your page appropriately. So like 0 is the top left. So put 0 the top left. We're going to be working this way. So we're going to draw a line. Now with spots and crosses, when you draw your line, you're going to go through the center of those spots and crosses. You want to be careful about your usage of pencil and set square, okay? Because if you go like this and you have your pencil along and then you move it like that at an angle, you're all of a sudden 2 millimeters away from your set square. Very common, and lines go, you know, I'm correcting to like the millimeter. So I'm going to, you know, put my pencil, say, in this spot and cross here, and this is what I mean. I'm putting my pencil on the spot, and then I'm putting my set square up to it. Then I'm going to put my pencil on that, in the middle of that spot and cross, and I'm putting my... So I do that a couple of times until I know my set square is lined up well. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. And then I would kind of what I call white knuckle it, as in press hard down on your set square, because the set square is slidey and likely to move around, and then draw your line and concentrate that your pencil hasn't moved like that. So if everyone draws a line down like that, and we can draw a line across, and we don't even need to use the set square for that. It doesn't say how far to come across, so just go a bit, and the length of your set square, say, and we'll lengthen it a bit. I do draw in the numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in pen on the board so that you can see what I'm doing. Our next instruction then, if we go, it's in bold, 0 to 1, and it says 1.5 centimeters. So my advice is, first, when you see 0 to 1, before you look at what's after that, just look at the diagram visually. Everyone benefits from a visual. And look at where it is, 0 to 1. Immediately when you see that, you go, oh yeah, it's small. It's just helpful to see. You'll know immediately, okay, it's a small amount. What is it? And then she gives you the amount. Or she'll give you an instruction to find the amount, an equation or something. So in this case, handy out, just the amount is given to us, 1.5. So we just literally measure that out. 1 to 2, so I'm looking over at my diagram, 1 to 2. 2 is down here, not all the way, a little bit down. And then it gives you Winifred's description, which is the arm side depth measurement plus 0.5 centimeters in square across. So there's 3 things there. We have to find the arm side measurement, we have to add 0.5 to it, and then we have to square across. So there's 3 instructions she's given. So we go up above to find our arm side measurement. Just listed there, right? 21. Okay, but we don't want to forget to add our 0.5. So our measurement is 21.5, yeah? But remember, we're coming from 1, not 0. So this is a big mistake a lot of people make. Now we're coming down 21.5, but we're coming from position 1. That is our position 2. She just says square across, so when she says that, she doesn't give you a width yet, so you just draw a line as long, and probably later you'll lengthen it, but for the time being you just kind of square out. So now squaring, that's one of the biggest skills in this room for everyone to get down, and the one that's the hardest, that most mistakes are made on. Squaring and curving are the hardest things really. So the reason squaring is hard is because you know, you get it all lined up and then your set square moves, or your pencil, even your hand moves it, the set square down. So squaring out, just to remind everyone, squaring means creating a 90-degree, a line coming at a 90-degree angle. And there's a few ways to do that. So no, that's okay. So this set square has a 90-degree angle. If you have one of those type of set squares or whatever, find your 90-degree angle. You can place one line along here, and then you can draw your line out. Now you need to be very, very careful that this is lined up exactly, it isn't slightly angled, and also that as you draw, your pencil is inclined to push down, and you're inclined to have it tilt a bit, okay? So The nice thing about these professional set squares is they have a line down here, which I find better, because you can line this line up along, and it's because it's clear and you can see your pencil line, it seems to me easier to hold it in that position. There's something about this big chunky bit here that's hard visually to see, is it in line with your line, you know? So this one is really good, it lines right on top, so I'd recommend that one. It's a shorter length though then that you'll square out from, but you know, that's okay. And also just in terms of terminology, that's a perpendicular line, that line coming out there. That's another term in case it comes up somewhere, draw a perpendicular line. Squared, it's also right angle. Is there another term? I think there's another one I'm forgetting. Just to get you kind of back into all those terms, I might use any of them. And I'm on 2 to 3, so again I'm going to look visually at 2 to 3. So I'm going to find 2, 2 is where I was, 3 is where? Across, here. So we're now going across, so this is a big one. This is the most probably important measurement and the most important thing to double and triple and check, because if this measurement is wrong, the whole block is out. Now we have quite a long instruction there, half the bust plus 5 centimeters. So we have to first find the bust, which is listed above, it's 88. And we have to half of that, which is what? 44, excellent. And then we're going to add 5, which is 49. Excellent. She has it in the example in brackets. So we have our amount, 49. And then she says square up and down and mark this line as a center front line. So there's quite a few sets of instructions just there. I wouldn't measure over really and square up and down. I'll show you what I would do. If I get to 49, I would measure over several times 49. Only because squaring is less accurate, in my experience, than measuring. So if I go over here, measure 49, and my squaring is out, and this is out, this point is out, you know what I mean? So I don't want to take that chance. I've made too many mistakes over the years. Drafting is millimeter specific, so I would measure 49 and put a dot. I would measure 49 and put a dot, and I would measure out a third time, and then I would draw a line through it. That is definitely more accurate, and it also checks my work. If I measure 49 3 times, and one of them is out, I'll find it, it will show me. You know, it won't line up. So 49, measured across the top. So when you have a little line here that you need to extend, just my advice is don't just put a tiny bit of your set square on and extend it. Put quite a large section of your set square or your measuring implement, your ruler or whatever it is, and then extend, because when you only have a little bit you can still actually go at some type of angle. Okay, so I've measured 3 times. I've measured 49. You can see my 40 there and my 9, my 40 there, my 9, and then I just did 49 there. So now I know this is definitely 49 over, and I can draw my line carefully through that. Another thing I like to say at the beginning of the year to people is, do try and just draw your line and measure separately. Sometimes people are trying to draw and measure at the same time. There's actually quite a lot to learn and concentrate on just drawing a nice line, and then there's quite a lot to concentrate on in your measurement. I concentrate on my line first, I drew it out, and then I came back and measured 2 steps. So this is our center front line. We can maybe write it straight away. So these lines here then, again, some more terminology. These are parallel lines, okay? They're equal distance all the way along going down. And there will be, quite often, I'll be asking you to set things up in parallel, that the center front and center back are parallel. That is the way you set up all blocks. 3 to 4 is the next one. That's kind of silly because we've done it already, that instruction. As in once you come out here and you draw that line, that's sort of already happened. So I just want to label here. She's just saying 3 to 4 is the same as 0 to 2. Okay. Then there's a thing in bold. When I see her say something in bold, I think, okay, I must pay attention here. So she's saying, when using body sizes from the standard body measurement chart or personal measurements, add an extra 0.5 for each size up above size 14. So we're down to 1 to 5, which is your nape to waist measurement. So again, do 1 to 5. Here we have 1. 5 is down here. So to the waist. So the nape of the neck. So along here, that kind of bone that sticks out, and then you're coming down to the waist. Up at the top, we have to find it. 41. So just notice it's number 1, not 0. So don't go all the way to the top of your block. Come from 1 down, 41. And then she has that instruction square across. So when you get to that point, then you square across. Okay, and then 5 to 7 is our next instruction. And so 5 to 7, so 5 is here, and we're going down along this line, still the center back line. And it says the waist to hip measurement, which again is something that's listed in the top here. Our waist to hip, isn't it? Yeah. It's 20.6. So just a little note, it's not 26, very common mistake. So 20 centimeters and then 6 little tiny millimeters. Okay, I measure here and here. I wouldn't, again, I don't square across, it's too much of a chance. So I come 20.6 down and 20.6 down, and then I drew a line between. And the next section says back in bold, so that means we're just looking at the back part of the block. So this one here, we're going to do all the instructions for that. So the first thing says 0 to 9. So again, stick with my method here. I'm going to look and find 9. It's over here across the top. That's position 9, and it's going to be create the neckline. So it says our instructions then are 1/5 the neck size minus 0.2, and then we're going to draw in the curve. So there's 3 sets of instructions. First, it's 1/5 of the neck size, so we find the neck size, and to find 1/5 we divide by 5. Okay, so simple enough. And then we have to remember to add 0.2. We don't want to forget that. So our neck size was 37. Thank you, Violet. And we're going to divide by 5, and that gives us 7.4. And then we're going to minus 0.2, so that's 7.2. When you're drawing the curve of the neck, you can obviously just maybe try and imitate what she has there. I dip mine out a tiny bit more at 9 than she does. I would dip it just a little bit more. So the curves are a little tricky to do. They just take time to kind of get the hang of. Then our next one is 1 to 10. So again, I'm looking 1 to 10 is just slightly down along that center back line. It's not too far down. So I'm going to look and it says 1/5 the arm side depth minus 0.7 and then square across. So we've got again 3 instructions. Arm side depth, it's up there at 21. So we're going to divide that by 5. And then we're going to, what are we going to do there? Minus 0.7. Okay, so 3.5 down, and again, remember this is from 1. No, don't make the mistake of going from 0 at the corner. This is from 1. So we're squaring across. It says halfway across the block, so you don't go all the way across in this one. Just kind of come out a ways. Okay, so the next one now is 9 to 11. So we're going to be at the shoulder, so there's a little bit of work here. So 9 to 11 Again, we're going to look at it here, 9 to 11, it's the shoulder and it's angled. And it is the shoulder length measurement plus 1. So we have 12.25, and with 1 added, that's 13.25. And then it says draw the back shoulder line to touch the line from 10. So what that means is you find that measurement, 13.25, 13 centimeters, 2 millimeters, and then in between millimeter 2 and millimeter 3 is the position, okay? So once I get that, I'm just representing that with my fingers. I'm going to put 0 on position 9. So I'm taking my set square there, and it's lined up there at 9, and I'm kind of swinging this around here until it hits this line, which is the line from 10. That's what she's talking about. And until that swings down at 13.25. So when 13.25 is there, and you can draw the line then between. So this is one of those where I don't draw the line as I'm measuring, you know. I measure down and I get the position, okay? And then I draw my line between position. The next one is 12, which is the center, so we just divide that in half, and that will give you kind of 6.6. Okay, so this is halfway, that's position 12. Okay, but we're going to, now the next instructions, 12 to 13, is a kind of a longer paragraph there. And again, we're going to look, 12 to 13 is here. It's this little dart, so you see that little wedge shape? You might be familiar with the term dart already. If you're not, those little wedge, like pizza shape things are darts. So this is a little shoulder dart. It says draw a dotted line 5 centimeters long and sloping inward 1 centimeter. And I'll read right through just. Then construct a dart 1 centimeter wide with this line as the center. Make both sides of the dart the same length. So it's quite a bit of work here. So when it says draw a dotted line 5 centimeters long, she doesn't say how to get that line or anything. Okay, so it would be presumed, if there's things like that everything is squared and parallel and all of that. So when she's talking about drawing that line, you would definitely square it down from our construction line. So this line up along the top is something that we would call a construction line. It's there to construct this block. You can see it's not here on the finished ones, you know. But they are there to help us measure from and square from and all of that. So they're the base lines, they're important lines. And so we will be squaring from that construction line at the top down. And she says do a dotted line. So again, you just draw down and then you can measure on it 5 centimeters. Okay, and then you're going to square across. I know it's only a tiny little bit, but you're just measuring across one, but it's kind of square across and measure 1 centimeter. So down 5 over 1. And that is position 13. If you look closely at the picture, can you see the way the two lines are not lined up? It looks a bit weird, looks maybe a little bit wrong, but it's actually correct. Because we need the two legs of the dart, so the two lines on each side of the wedge shape are called the legs of the dart. When you go to sew that, you want them to be the same length, don't we? I mean, if they weren't, we wouldn't be able to sew them together. So we have to make them the same length. If we drew a line from 13 to this side and to this side, they wouldn't be the same length. This one would be shorter, because that's, you know, at an angle. So what we're going to do here is we're going to draw this line on the left-hand side down. Okay, now because the dart is just 1 centimeter wide, isn't it? It says 1 centimeter. Okay. So if we're constructing a dart, it's saying 1 centimeter wide. It's 1 centimeter in total. So we're going to come out on each side of position 12, 0.5. Okay, so just it's 1 centimeter in total. So measure 0.5 out on each side. So it's tiny, it's small. So it's hard to see because I know what I'm doing up here is quite small for you to see, I know. So I'm going to join 13 to the mark I made onto the left hand side of position 12. So that's one leg of the dart, so I'm just going to draw that one on the left hand side. Then whatever measurement that is, I'm going to apply to the other side. So I'm going to physically measure that, right? It should be somewhere close to 5, but it would be a little bit over. 5.2, say. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Violet. So then I'm going to swing that over to the other side, and I'm going to draw that in, and that means that then that rises above that initial line that I drew there from 9 to 11. Okay, but now this line, one leg of the dart, is the same length as that, so that's what matters. So I'm going to show you this bit on paper. It's a bit fiddly, but we're going to close over the dart and trace through with the tracing wheel to get the shape that comes in between here and here. I can't do it on this board, so I'm going to do it on the paper there, so I just need to catch up. It's tricky enough to do, so I crease one side and I kind of put my fingernail down the middle to hold that bottom bit, and so that it will fold over. Okay, so I know that's going to be hard enough for you. I probably make it look easy, but it's a little fiddly now to do that. And all of a sudden your paper goes three-dimensional. It should go three-dimensional. That's what the dart does. It creates three-dimensional shape. So you have to let your paper go three-dimensional. If you squish it down, it'll all wrinkle. So you just have to kind of, it's awkward when you're working with the patterns, when you have darts folded, the paper's all up in funny positions. All you need is this little piece here to be flat, because I need to trace through to get my shape. So I'm going to trace through, so that bit's folded, and I'm going to trace through along that line with my tracing wheel. Okay? So when I open that up, it gives me a shape, and my shape, I'll do it in bigger form now instead so you can see, but if I was to draw it in pen in a larger scale for you guys, it would look something like this. So I've got my line, this is 13, this is 12, coming up a little higher, down to the shoulder. And it's going something like this. It creates a little shape like that joins them. That's important. You just need it, otherwise there's just nothing there, and when we go to trace, what do we do in that space? We just draw a line. Okay, so on the front here, we're going to look and we see 4 to 20, so that's here 4, coming down to 20, sorry, coming across at the top. So we're working on the neck. I'm going to find 20 and 21, and it says 1/5 of the neck size, minus 0.7, 6.7. Okay, so come out 6.7, and then coming down, the next one is 4 to 21, 1/5 the next side, minus 0.2. So you end up with a measurement of 7.2. Then you need to draw in the curve. And so take your time there, trying to just make a nice neck curve. You can see it's not a total circle. This measurement is shorter, it's deeper at the front. So just make your best attempt at making a nice kind of curved shape, and I can help you as well then when we come around. So then we're moving from down to 3 to 22. So position 3 here to 22, again just having a visual on my diagram first so I know where I'm going from 3 over this way. And our formula there is half the chest measurement plus half the width of the dart. And we get a measurement of 19.7. And they're important measurements, those two that we've because this determines our arm size, our arm shaping here, and so it's tricky if anything is off in that area because it will make your whole arm off. So the next one is 3 to 23, and that's half the measurement that we just did, 3 to 22. And then square down with a dotted line, just like we did over here from point 17. So I have, what do I have, 9.85. So again, kind of 9.8, 9.9, because that's fine. And again, I know she would be saying square down, but I would take that measurement 9.85 and I'd measure out on each of those. And then draw the line. I just find that a bit more accurate then. Okay, so 26 it says is the bust point, and it's 2.5 centimeters down from 23. So that position we just got there was 23. I didn't write the naming because we just have to measure down 2.5, and that's going to be position 26, and that is our bust point, which is important. And then it says draw a line joining 20 to 26. This is 26 here, and 20 is all the way back up here at that neck line, neck point. So that's like that. The next one is 20 to 27, which is simple. It's just the dart width measurement. So the dart width is listed as 7. So we literally just measure across along that top line 7 centimeters. That is position 27. Then we draw the second leg of the dart there. So we draw a line from there down to 26. So then we have 11 to 28 is our next. Front shoulder, exactly, coming down. You can see it's a funny little thing coming down. It says 28 and there's a line going across. So it's 1.5, it's saying that you're coming down, and then you're squaring out, and it gives you an approximation. It gives you approximately 10 centimeters. So you're never just drawing a line, even if it's short and 1.5, you don't just have a guess. Now the next thing is we are going to draw the shoulder line in the front. So we're going to draw the line from 27, the shoulder length measurement to touch the line, from 28 to 29. So again, we're going to have the shoulder measurement, and we're going to go from that point, and we're going to pivot down until it hits this line. So like we did in the initial line that we created from 9 to 11. So in this case, the shoulder length measurement is 12.25. So we have that, and in the set square, we're going to put 0 at position 27, and I'm going to pivot this along until 12.25 hits that line. So just take your time with that. I would recommend just making the mark when you get 12.25 first, and then I kind of just, you know, have another little measurement just to see that it's correct, and then I draw. The next is 22 to 31. So we're here, coming up here, and we're creating a position there. And again, that's going to guide us with this shaping that we get for our armhole or our arm side. So 1/3 of the measurement, 3 to 21. So this here, 3 to 21. And we find 1/3 of that should be 15.8. So, and then you divide that by 3, and we get 5.26. So if you want to round that up to 5.3, that's fine. 32 now is the midway point between 14 and 22. And we're going to square down again, she says, with a dotted line. You could measure and find the halfway, but you should be, halfway should be about 5.8. Okay, so 5.8 there, and then we can square down, or if you want to measure over to that and then measure over again, Or in this case, if that's a bit tricky, we can square down. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain the curve, and I'll talk you through how I curve and that, just so that you know. And so draw the arm side as shown on the diagram, touching points 11, 16, 32, 31, 30. So it's all of those points that we're going through. And the thing is how do you go through them to get it to look like that? There's a few things to know. For example, this here sews to that, and that's the shoulder point. So it would be very important at these points to square. Just right here and right here. Start with just squaring there to give you your starting point. Now that's very different maybe than just whatever way you might have just chosen randomly to go. Okay? And then it's the same at oh yeah, 20, okay, yeah, at 11, sorry. I was like, where are you turning? Okay, and again, we might be curving straight in from that, but even just for the tiny little bit, a few millimeters, if we start with that. Then the other thing is, she goes from position 14, which is here, and there's an arrow. Now it's important that you would get that, or it's better if you get that angle sort of bisected, as in if you go at a 45-degree angle there. Okay, now we have a set square. If you have this style set square, you have two 45s. So you can place your set square along here. So is everybody just having a quick look just at the moment? If I get eyes up to the board for a second, you put your set square along there, and you draw a line along, and that is the 45-degree angle. It's divided that, and that's the line that you measure up the amount that she has listed in the book, which from 14, you've got to first of all look from 14, and then you've got to look and find our sizes from 10 to 14. That's we're 12, is 2.5, and then from 22, which is the other side, we're 2. And it makes a big difference then once you've got all these marked in. Like once you've got your 90-degree angle starting there, you've got this now, you've got that point, and now you curve in. So the curve is not as pretty as the one in the book. So yeah, so just what I would do is sketch, or you can even do like I am with my hand first, kind of trying to get your sense of where it is that you're drawing this. And even kind of sketch really lightly to hit that position. When you're hitting 31, you're very flat along it, and you're coming down quite flat. It almost feels like a straight line. It's like the tiniest bit of a curve on that. And then you hit this point here, and you have to come so that you're quite flat by the time you hit this point, which is 32. So I would generally do like what I'm doing. I kind of sketch along lightly, and then I come along after and kind of darken it in once I can see I've got a nice looking curve. So coming from 11, it's really awkward. You're kind of squaring in. You've got to pull it in it's really kind of flat along there. But you don't want it to be flat and then pointy. You just want it to be a tiny bit curved at all points nearly. So that's one of the hardest things to do, is the kind of slightly curved lines, and then pulling them into a deeper curve. And then getting them hollowed out and deep enough to match the next point, which sometimes is tricky. We're nearly finished now. We do have to do our dart shaping, but that's all of the instructions from that handout. The dart shaping is on a different page in the book. But basically, we're creating darts. So this is fine. This block could be used as is. The waist shaping is optional. So here we have, you can see on this dotted line, which is this one here, that it's going to go out, and you can see the measurement. So if you measure 2.25 out on each side, So that's a 4.5 centimeter dart in total, but you just measure out 2.25 and 2.25. And then in terms of length, it's 13 centimeters down. So once you make those two marks, you can just draw in that dart. Quite simple enough. It starts from position 26. So again, just be careful with your 2.5, so it's 2 centimeters plus 2 millimeters and then a half. And then from this waistline, you're coming down 13. And so once you've got those, you just draw that shape in. So that's the front waist dart. This one now in the center, people often call it dart, but it's actually the side seam shaping. It's the shape of the front side seam and the shape of the back. So once you see them separated, you see it's not actually a dart. It's just this shaping. Okay, and you might also see that it's slightly angled. Okay, so it's not divided exactly in half. You'll see that there is a measurement there coming across the bottom, 24.5. So you're actually coming past this point. So it's important to remember that the front of the body is different to the back of the body. Which just brings us a little bit past anyway. And then we're coming 2.5 out here. And 1.5 here. And coming from that underarm position and just drawing it in. Again, we can refine on your patterns and smooth that off a little bit and round along here. You'll see that. So just to say to you, for the block and for the first go, I leave it a bit pointy, but. Okay, so this is our waist and this is our hip. And I would encourage people to write all those things in if it helps you. Like if you already totally know it and you're just like, I don't need to write that. But like, I think that if you're still kind of going, God, this diagram, like what is what? You know, write things in and it helps you take it in, you know.
Are we going to put these on our top and cross or is it optional?
So I think that has us finished with the block.